Okay, joining us today in past incarnations, she's been a teacher and a politician. She's currently the top boss at World Vision Ireland. It's Helen Keogh. Thanks for joining us, Helen. Full of beans on a Monday morning and full of fighting Irish. It's Paul Connolly from Dublin's 98, The Inbox. Fresh from the Tullamore show, hopefully with mud off her old boots, Irish Country Living editor Mairead Lavery, and for the first time on this show, successful businessman and PR guru Adrian Brady. Thank you all for joining us today. Mairead, let's get to you. No, I won't. I'll get to this first. I was in Croke Park yesterday. I was on the edge of my seat watching, well, I watched all the games, but particularly Kilkenny and Waterford. I knew it would be tight, but by God was it tight. Can I say this? Well done to Waterford. You put up an amazing display against the Cats, but JJ Delaney and Henry Shefflin, thank God for you both. Anyway, Mairead, the Tullamore show.
Tullamore show, fantastic. And there was no mud on my boots. After 2 years...
It was cancelled.
Yeah, for the last 2 years. Really awful for everybody, all the organisers, because like Tullamore is completely voluntary. Everybody that's involved in it, in organising the whole thing, it's a voluntary event. So huge hassle for the last 2 years cancelled.
They changed site though, didn't they? Because the soil was sandier.
They moved up the road a few miles and it made a difference. But now, okay, the weather was great. We had sunshine. We had huge crowds. We had absolutely great fun. I don't think I'd dare anybody to have gone to Tullamore and not found the day great. Wonderful.
Okay, Adrian, let me bring you in here. A pure guru's manna from heaven, the Michael Jackson story is. There's no question about that. It can be spun 1,000 ways and will probably be spun for 1,000 years. The Mark Lester thing that's come out now, he donated sperm seemingly, and he alleges that he is the daughter, or the father of Jackson's daughter. We've got the two pictures there that we can throw them up. Have a look at them. There on, as I'm looking at my right-hand side, is his daughter, Harriet, and then that is Michael Jackson's daughter beside them. Now, are you convinced? Oh, you can't see it, or you can't see it?
I can see it there, Alan. I think the question is it manna from heaven for a PR person, or is it a nightmare? The problem is that this is what gives our industry a bad name. You have people jumping on the bandwagon, looking for cash payoffs.
Well, it's great business for you guys that you're spinning away there forever.
I think there's a very small end of the market that deals in the celebrity side of things. I think
Max Clifford types.
That's it, exactly. And I don't think they reflect what PR is all about, but I would say that, wouldn't I? I think the thing is, it's sad for the kids, and that's what all of us forget in all of this. Joking aside and all the comments that we could make, the children are really going to suffer, and the fact is it just keeps, as you say, dragging on the story.
Paul? Do you care at this stage?
To be honest, it is a bit tired and jaded at this point, but this is kind of interesting. You'd wonder, but the whole thing was surrounded in so much cloak and dagger. No one really knew exactly where the children came from, where the sperm donations came from, so there might be something in this. At the same time, though, it is kind of the parasitic lice creeping out of the woodwork, looking to cash in on... You know, he's not there, he can't answer these accusations, so obviously enough people looking for a few quid will jump in.
But you know, Helen, they're just kids, innocent kids. Leave them alone, for crying out loud. Does it matter if they're happy? I mean, these are kids who are going through an appalling time now. They've lost their father, they've been just thrown into the abyss, they've been dragged from here, there and everywhere.
Yeah, and remember that Michael Jackson, for all that we used to give out about him in certain ways, that he did protect those children a lot. He tried to keep them out of the public gaze, well, apart from trying to drop one of them, or looking as if he was going to drop one of them off a balcony, but he certainly learned his lesson from that. And now they're right in the public gaze again. I saw, oh, to my shame nearly, I looked at some of the service that they had. Now, some of it was quite touching, but I had to turn it off. I felt it was all too much. It was too much of a circus. And the children were there in the full public gaze, and I felt their dads just died. You know, whether he's their natural father or not, he was their father. He did love them. He tried to protect them, and now here they are, being sort of thrown out for everybody to see. Terrible stuff.
We're going to get first news of the afternoon, but don't forget to call us. We're going to be discussing swine flu in schools. What sort of measures or what sort of action should be considered by schools now that we're seeing the huge numbers going back in the next couple of weeks. But let's get the first news of the afternoon now. Revamp on Best People. Okay, if you're just joining us, we're talking to Helen Keogh, CEO of World Vision Ireland, Paul Connolly, Dublin's 98 FM, the 98, I should say. I keep getting that wrong.
So, I forgive you.
The Inbox, Mairead Lavery, Irish Country Living editor, and Adrian Brady, CEO of Eulogy, the largest Irish-owned PR agency in the United Kingdom. A little later on, we'll be talking about the best before labels on your food, but I want to concentrate on swine flu, particularly in the context that so many children are coming back from holidays and they'll be in school over the next couple of weeks. And anyone who has children, they'll know if they go into class, somebody has a cold, somebody has an infection, it just sweeps through the classroom like wildfire. Before we get into detail on that, What is crucial in all this, Adrian, is the message, the speed in which it's given out and the accuracy of the information which is given by the authorities. Now, on the basis of what has been happening in Britain, particularly in relation to the controversy surrounding the advice to pregnant women, the call centres which have been set up by individuals who are deemed not to be eminently qualified to deal with the queries in relation to swine flu, what should we be looking at in this country in terms of an information campaign? It's been there for a number of months now, but do you get the sense that we are handling it correctly, or could we be doing more?
I think there's a real problem, Alan, in both Britain and Ireland, where personally I'm not convinced that governments and medical organisations are handling the communication side of things effectively. I'm sure they are on logistics, and from a medical point of view I'm sure they are. The key thing is that all of us are confused. Those of us who are young families aren't quite sure where to turn. You hear conflicting stories, and I think that the thing is they need to address that very quickly with the school term coming up soon.
Do you believe that schools should be closed if 1 or 2 children in a classroom are diagnosed with swine flu?
I think the problem is the danger of just having panic about school closures, workplace closures. The HSE has said that the number of cases last week was down by 1,000, I believe, on the previous week. They've also said that 1 to 2% of the population will have a bad dose of swine flu, as it were. So we've got to put these things in context, and I think we need to communicate very clearly. The sad thing is, if someone like John O'Donoghue can't answer about expenses, is the government really going to communicate properly to everyone here at home on swine flu?
Mairead, let's just talk for a moment about Dorina Calpin, the Sligo teenager who died, albeit she had an underlying problem with cystic fibrosis.
But like
the view,
an awful lot of young people in Ireland who lead otherwise perfectly active lives.
But unfortunately for her, the view was expressed by eminent medical individuals that even if she had the regular flu during the winter, the likelihood is that she could potentially have died as a result of it. Do you believe there's a sense of panic? Do you think that perhaps we should just sit back, let it happen, implement whatever hygiene initiatives that need to be introduced in schools and information packs, and just let it run its course?
Yeah, well, on the sense of panic, I think the media isn't helping here. One of the Sunday papers 2 weeks ago had a note in it, and I was reading it, about how the universities are setting up morgues to cope with the casualties that are going to come out of this in third level colleges. I have 2 kids in third level colleges, different third level colleges at the moment, and I mean, it just frightened the wits out of me. So I think media has got to be extremely responsible on this. It shouldn't be out there sending out scare stories and frightening the wits out of people. So we need real, proper advice, and we need it all the time.
But the reality is swine flu kills people. People have died across the globe.
Now,
we've witnessed 1 death in this country.
There's 3 young men I know with swine flu. They're just out the other end of it at this stage. And one of them is a 20-year-old who just came back from Ibiza last Saturday week. Texted home, told his parents he wasn't well, got on the plane. You know, he had to leave the country, got on the plane, really wasn't well by the time he was being picked up in Dublin. But the parents acted immediately. They had masks on, they had gloves, they picked him up, they isolated him in one part of the house. They have a child who would be, you know, under pressure if he got swine flu, and they contained it. They absolutely contained it.
And he came out, the symptoms were just ordinary flu, as it were?
No, they were more serious.
Were they?
There was hallucinations, bad cramps, not able to eat or drink, really, really, really compromised, and very, very ill for 3 to 4 days. So much so that his mum said to me that if it was a baby or a young child or an elderly person or someone that had an underlying lung condition, it would have been very, very tough going.
You see,
but that family took, they took absolute precautions. They didn't do, I mean, it was the masks, the gloves, the disinfectant, the hot soapy water over all surfaces, and keeping the young man isolated. And it hasn't spread to any other member of the family.
But Mairead, you've grown